Hello, I am Viesturs, the product owner here at Publica, and this showcase is meant to demonstrate our proof of concept involving authors and readers' journey in 8 steps. So let's start with the author's journey. Ultimately, the business goal of the author is to create a fundraising for his or her upcoming book. And to do that, the author needs to be registered in our system. So let me show you how that happens. So here's the login page for authors. Since I am a new author, I will register now. Let's click on Create Your Publica account button to proceed. Here you can see the whole form, and let's just proceed with filling in our name, our surname, email address, as well as the password. So by creating an account, we of course agree to the Publica's terms of use. When the author signs up, we generate a wallet for him, where the author will be receiving the funds of the sales. For the purposes of this proof of concept, we are generating and storing the wallets ourselves. When the platform reaches MVP level, the author will be able to import his or her own private key, as well as export the one we generated upon account creation. We can actually take a look at the generated wallet, since that's happening on client side. So let me do that right now. I can take a look at it via the View console. As you can see, the author's account is completely empty. There are no transactions or token transfers. Now, once the author is registered or signed in, a personal dashboard is displayed, which I will walk you through. But first, let me switch to an account where I already have some books created. So the author's dashboard is fairly simple, and it contains the information most useful for them. For example, here you can see the total amount of funds received from all of the author's books. We convert this value to USD only for informational purposes by using an oracle, which is still to be decided upon. Also, USD or any other currency preferences will be editable in the profile settings. Now let me tell you more about the My Books section. So the first option you see here is to start a new book crowdfunding, but we will return to this later. Underneath that, the author can see all of his or her books on our platform. Here we have chosen to display books to represent the whole book crowdfunding cycle. The first book you see here can be considered as a draft. As you see, its status of the campaign is set as not active. At this point, only the author has access to the book's details, which can be freely edited and perfected. And from there on, you can actually activate the campaign. The second book is just that, an activated book campaign. This means that the book is already being promoted and is building its community, but it's not sellable yet. Author is still gathering the support base and building the momentum to start the funding. Otherwise, there's little point in opening a sale if nobody knows about it. So next we can see a book which is already in the process of crowd sale. It is actively gathering funds in the form of PBL tokens. For example, this book has already fulfilled its crowdfunding goal by 3% by gathering 20,000 PBL tokens and has 28 days of crowdfunding left. After the crowd sale ends, either when the end date has passed or the goal is completed, the author is required to upload the book, which means to actually publish it on our platform. Here the author can see how many PBL tokens were raised, as well as the button to proceed with book uploading. Finally, there is an already published book. Now it just keeps on counting the earnings, since authors will keep on selling the book even after the crowdfunding is done. Let's now proceed to creating a new book crowdfunding. For the purposes of this proof of concept, we have made the creation page fairly simple, as there is no technical challenge to make it as complex as necessary. The exact setup will be done together with the authors to both fulfill their needs and the expectations of their communities. So let's click on Start New Book Crowdfunding. And here you can see the form for adding a new book. So this first section contains the minimum fields for activating a campaign. Let's go ahead and enter our title. Let's choose the cover art for the book. Let's insert some promotional text as well. So let's set the description of the book. and maybe even upload the first few chapters of the book as a teaser to our possible readers. In the second field here, you can see that we have a crowdfunding page address generated from the book title. We are planning to make this editable, but it's not a part of this exercise. Remember that the book is not visible by anyone until the author activates the book campaign, so we can now choose to either save it and return to it later, or fill in the crowdfunding section and activate the campaign. So let's fill in our crowdfunding setup section. First thing you'll notice here is a video guide with some tips for authors, as well as a link to an FAQ section. We try to make the process as simple as possible and help any author understand it fully. Next, let's set our crowdfunding goal. We ask for it in USD or any other currency, including crypto, that the author has set up in his profile settings. The actual crowdfunding will be in PBL tokens, of course, and the conversion is done based on CoinMarketCap data. So let's enter our goal, which is $45,000, let's say. Next, the author sets the price of the book during the crowdfunding process. This price again is in USD, but the equivalent PBL amount will be automatically calculated per daily exchange rate, and the smart contract will be updated accordingly. Let's enter the book price for crowd sale as $5. Now you can see that the platform calculated the total amount of tokens, which are book access keys, available during this crowdfunding process. In our case, it's 9,000. We will also support setting a soft cap limit for the sale. However, for the purposes of this exercise, it is not implemented on contract and functionality level, but we'll enter it anyways, $30,000, let's say. We also ask for the reason why this soft cap is implemented. Let's leave this empty. Next, we ask the author for the crowdfunding starting date, as well as the duration of the campaign. Let's set the starting date as next week and the duration as 30 days. Considering that the authors will continue to sell the books even after crowdfunding ends, we also ask for the price of one token, which is one access key, after the end of crowdfunding. It is usually higher to support early contributors who help to produce the work, so let's put that as $15. Finally, we ask for the amount of books available for sale after the crowdfunding. Let's put that at 100,000. Now, when all of this information is filled in, the author can choose to activate the campaign. Let's do that after saving the book details we just entered. Okay, so let's click Save. We just saved the book. Let's now activate the campaign by making it public. When the author activates the campaign, crowdfunding itself is not active yet and not able to gather any money, but everyone can already see the promotional page. Now we can open the page that has been generated for the book. Each book has its own unique page and they are not connected in a catalog. It is a one-to-one relationship between the author and the community of supporters. So here we can see the book promo page. As you can see, there are several promotional elements on the page, such as the countdown to the crowdfunding start and details on the token availability. We are also incorporating an email sign-up field that will let the authors directly communicate with the circle of his supporters. For the purposes of this proof of concept, it is not active. Then we have the book details section, showing the cover photo, ability to read the first few chapters, and of course the description of the book itself. Next, there is also a section dedicated to the author of the book, containing an About section as well as some social and promotional links. Further down, you see additional crowdfunding details. Here is a split of the planned book copies to be sold. In this case, it's 9,000 copies at $5 and a further 100,000 copies at $15 after the crowdfunding is done. Here you can also see the duration of the planned crowdfunding and the soft hard cap amounts. On the bottom, once again, there is an email sign-up form. Let's now travel in time and see what happens when the crowdfunding actually starts. When the author tries to start the crowdfunding for the first time, a KYC, which is Know Your Customer form, is presented, asking for personal details for verification of the author in case there are disputes to be resolved. Currently, KYC is accepted immediately, but in the future we might implement a manual verification process, possibly involving some blockchain service as an intermediary. Let's upload the requested documents and proceed with starting the crowdfunding. At the moment when the sale starts, the actual book contract gets deployed, and the author receives amount of read tokens that is the sum of keys to be sold during the crowd sale and after it. We can see the contract address of the book in the console here. Let's put it inside Etherscan for a test network and see that it's deployed. Here you can see the contract was deployed a few minutes ago. Let's now interact with the blockchain and see that the author has 109 read tokens for this book. As you can see, I inserted the contract address and the author's address, and in response we get 109,000 tokens. Now let's go back to the promo page. As you can see, the only notable difference is that the timer is now counting to the end of the crowd sale, and the email sign-up form has turned into a Contribute Now button. Everything else is the same as before. Of course, the page is flexible and the author can append it with more news to share with the community or upload next chapters of the book. Now the author is fully equipped to start receiving PBL tokens. Let's move on to the reader's journey. Actually, the same book promo page will typically be the first encounter of our platform for the readers. For example, when they receive a message from an author inviting them to join in on their new book crowdfunding campaign. If the reader is interested, he or she will naturally click on the Contribute Now button. After that is done, the reader will be then redirected to a separate login page, specifically meant for readers. I don't currently have a reader's account here, so let's make one. So just click on Create Your Publica account as before, and fill in the form. When the reader signs up, we generate a wallet for him, which will be used for all the transactions. For the purposes of this proof of concept, we are generating and storing the wallet. Naturally, the reader will need some Ether and PBL tokens for purchasing the books. We are planning to introduce a PBL purchasing mechanism by using a third-party provider. This would enable us to simply ask for the reader's payment details and convert his fiat payment into PBL tokens in the background. This is not implemented as a part of this proof of concept, and for the purposes of this demo, I have already sent a bit of Ether and 1,000 PBL tokens to this reader's account. So let's check the generated address of this reader's account, just as we did for the author's. Let's check it out on Etherscan. We can see that this account has received 1 Ether just a couple of minutes ago. We can also see that this account has 1,000 PBL tokens, just by looking at the output of contract's balance off function. By issuing this command, we see that this account has 1,000 PBL tokens, which here are represented in way, which is why this huge number is present. Let's go back to the reader's dashboard now. Since I registered by showing interest in Joseph's book, it's visible in my book list. As you can see, there is also a sum up of the book's information here. The description, crowdfunding end date, and the amount of tokens available, as well as their price. Now let's proceed with actually contributing to the book. Let's click the Contribute button, and as you can see, a window pops up, asking how many tokens, as in how many copies of the book we want to receive. I say let's choose 5 tokens. Since each copy is sold for $5, the total comes to $25, which is translated to 125 PBL tokens. Let's click Contribute. So as you can see, after we have contributed, we now have confirmation that we have 5 copies of the book available. We are planning to implement the ability to sell the copies and transfer them to other users, but this is out of the scope of our exercise. And you can see that we are waiting for the book to be published. To make sure that the transactions were successful, let's check them on the blockchain. I will open the reader's wallet on Etherscan once again just to see what happened. As you can see, the reader has made a transaction of 125 PBL tokens to the author of the book. Let's now check out the author's account on Etherscan. So here's the author's account, and as we can see, 5 minutes ago, the author received 125 PBL tokens. Now let's check that the reader received the read tokens. We can do that by interacting with the blockchain. So as you can see, I checked the balance of the reader within the contract of the read token, and it returned 5, just as expected. So we've traveled in time again to the point where the author has actually published his book. As you can see, there is a read button now. Just click on it to read the book. It's as simple as that. For the purposes of this proof of concept, the reading is very simple, but in the future we have plans of creating a more sophisticated reader application that will support multiple formats of books uploaded by authors. So those are the journeys of authors and readers. As always, your comments and suggestions are welcome. We can't wait to make this happen, and thank you all for your support.